All right. So we've been going over Michi's backchecker strategy, and we're on the topic that he is probably most famous for this book, or most famous idea coming out of this book, which is the butterfly anchor. The butterfly anchor is the 3-point anchor. We started this last time, so I'll review a little bit. The butterfly anchor is the 3-point anchor, and it's called the butterfly because, like the caterpillar going into cocoon, it comes out of the cocoon and flies away. So the idea with the butterfly anchor is that you make it and then you want to break it fairly quickly. So last time we went over where, early on you want to make the anchor, the 3-point anchor, even though you'd rather make the 4 or the 5-point anchor, but if you can make the 3-point anchor, that's usually a good idea. It prevents you from being attacked. So, that's helpful, and you can focus on other things. But then you're going to want to leave the anchor much sooner. And normally, for a 4 or 5-point anchor, you're going to want to hold on to it for a while, and you have to have a really good reason to leave it. For the 3-point anchor, you're going to look for reasons to leave it. And so Michi's come up with a couple of reasons, or 3 reasons actually, that he mentions. And then it's funny because he mentions 3 early on in this chapter on the butterfly anchor, and then later on in this upper chapter he lists 3 more reasons, 3 different reasons. I haven't seen him try to integrate those, but I'll give you what they are. So what we went over last time was what he called complete the fort. And by completing the fort, he means, completing a prime in front of your opponent's anchor. And generally, a 6 prime is as complete as you get, but you probably won't get a 6 prime, but a 5 prime is usually good enough to leave. And so if you have that, it's time to leave the butterfly and get around, because you built up your fort, your defense, as well as you're going to be able to do it. And so you can take the risk of running out. Then we went over, if you have 0 or 1 spare in the outfield, that indicates that it's probably time to leave. We'll go over some examples today. And then the others, the third one is if you leave a direct shot. Now later on, Michi talks about, gives 3 different criteria. One was the same with you if you have a single spare checker to play. That's one criteria. Then he says if you don't have an offensive play against your opponent. So there's another reason. And then finally, if you're 7 pips ahead after the race. So he never really tries to integrate those, at least as far as I can tell. So we'll try to talk about those things too. And I did mention last time the race is important. And he sort of mentions it, but doesn't make a big deal out of it. So we'll look at a couple situations where the race may change your move. So first example here is we have a 6-5 to play. We've got the butterfly anchor. So what's the right play?
I would take one of your back guys all the way to the 12, 11, the 10 point.
Yeah, to make yeah. So you're gonna break the butterfly anchor.
Yeah.
And so what's the sign here according to Michi's rules? What's the sign that we've got to do that? Here's the right play, by the way.
The sign. Well, they have a well, I don't know what the sign is.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the 3 that he gave are complete the fort, which not really. We sort of have a broken prime, but I wouldn't call this a fort. It's something, but not quite a fort. 0, no spares in the outfield. So, and that's the one here. We got no spares. We're stripped all over the place.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of that's the sign that matters here. And then the others we're not leaving a direct shot in the in the outfield anyway. But it is kind of scary. I mean, you can see after that move, we're likely to be attacked if black rolls a 3 or a 5. But it's, I guess the point is that if we don't, move now, when are we going to move? So with the butterfly anchor, you've got to break it. That's kind of his point. So, all right. Another example. And so here, 5-4 to play. But so do we break this or not? Well, we've got one spare. It's here. And so that's, so the answer is we break it. With one spare, you break it. And it's kind of as simple as that. Now this, this is not an overwhelming play. This play is still a 50-50 game. I guess we're a little bit better, 57-42 game. The problem is, the alternatives aren't very good here. This is the best one. High risk, kind of a high risk play, because if black rolls a 1, he's going to hit. And then now you're behind in the race. And you've got 3 checkers behind. Not quite a fort, but you got a broken prime here. But again, it's butterfly anchor. You got to break it. So look to break it.
Sorry, Gary, what's this fork you mentioned? What does fork mean?
What do you mean fork?
Well, it's not an expression I've come across. What does it mean?
He's talking about when you're making your prime or something, Gary. You made some expression before.
Oh, the fort. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, the fort. That's
Fort,
yeah, that's
fort,
Michi's
not
term.
fort.
Fort. Yeah, fort. F-O-R-T. Yeah, that's Michi's conceptualization of a 5, really a 5 or a 6 prime. And so here you could call this this is a 4 prime. You could call it a fort, I suppose, but it's not really a fort. It's it's a 4 prime. It's not bad, but not quite a fort.
All right.
But if you had a 5 prime or a 6 prime in front of black's anchor, that's a good time to lead, because black, you're probably going to have to struggle breaking the anchor, bringing the checkers around, meaning you're likely to get hit and so on. But if black is kind of trapped, that's the idea, is that's a good time to that's a good time to make the break, because it's not going to be easy for black to both contain you and to escape. So that's the idea here. So, and we went over some examples of that last time, and we can go over some again if you want. But now we're going out to it's just second criteria, which is lack of spares, 0 or 1 in the outfield. Look at another example. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Very counterintuitive, and because, well, what do you think? What's the right play? I mean, I didn't. This I struggled with this one, but
I think I go to the 21 point because it's not very dangerous and easy to get out.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the hint, is we're talking about butterfly anchors. And here's a case where we don't have an anchor, butterfly anchor yet. So, I think the obvious play is to come in here. Now we have a butterfly anchor, but we have a 1 to play.
Yeah,
And so what's the right one? Well, I think, and I probably would have done this, is either move up here or move here. After all, why do you want to break an anchor? But in fact, we're talking about the butterfly anchor, and we have a single spare.
Mhm.
oh,
So the correct answer is you break the butterfly anchor. You leave the blank.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, and this is unusual because, normally when we're talking about leaving the anchor, we're talking about jumping into the outfield, and preferably safely somewhere. But here's a case where we want to break the butterfly anchor without really escaping anything. Yeah, and the idea is that we've got to bring these checkers out, and we've got some other things that, well, he doesn't really talk about. We don't really call this a fork, but it is a 4 prime. And black is not at the edge, so he's not going to be able to hop over that easily. And black has, and we have a race lead. We have a 12-pip race lead. So those are enough to sort of break the fork.
But Gary.
Yeah.
Would you not want to leave 3 blots there if he had another man on his 5 or 6 point?
Good question. It probably depends on which one, but let's move this one. I would guess it's probably closer. I mean, these weren't very far apart. These are only a 0.03 error, so this is really kind of an unusual situation, and it's not a big error if you didn't break it here. But yeah, I think you have raised a good question. Here we're not really under that much of a threat. It's some threat, but black is going to have to hit loose, and that's it. Here, black has some rolls that could point on us. And so that's a much more dangerous position. I would think not, but let's see. Nope, I would be wrong. In fact, I think this was a little bit bigger of an error. To come up here. I would have thought it would be less than there because now black has some better threats. But that's not what XG is saying. Let's see if it on plus. And well, probably the reason why is that if black breaks his 8 point to make a point on either 3 or 4, he's going to leave a return shot. And another checker back for black is not good. All right, well, this, fortunately, I'm using a slower computer, and so it's taking a lot longer to do the analysis. So, oh no, here we are. So this is a little bit closer.
Wow.
Gary,
Yeah,
I would think that the main thing is that you don't have enough builders. Usually, if you have 9 or more, then it's dangerous.
yeah,
But in either case, you still have only 7
Yeah.
covering the inner board.
yeah. Well, and also that's a good point. And also, these aren't the checkers here aren't as useful as builders because they don't point to any open spot. So I think if you put these checkers up here, now we've got a more dangerous position. Yeah. So now this is slightly worse. I don't want to plus it. It'll take too long, but now we're shifting a little bit. And if you brought another checker in, say here, now I think I think it's pretty clear. You got to keep the anchor. Yeah. In fact, this one now becomes a blunder with the extra checkers in the zone. Now, the other thing here too is, and I'll get to that, the race lead is now different here. here we don't have a race lead, and Michi doesn't talk about that much, but he does mention later that you need a 7.7 pip race lead after the roll. Here after the roll, we only have a 4 pip race lead. So I was wanting to look at that. Here's another example, another variation of this. Oops. And so here we actually have we've covered a couple of things. Here we don't have the race lead. Here we've got more checkers bearing in on us. And so here, the answer is a little bit different. It's still surprisingly close to run up. But if you decrease the race lead, that's weird. Even more. Now the anchor, you need the anchor, and it becomes an error. So it becomes a little more complex, and Michi tries to make it as simple as possible, but these are, it's not exactly a straightforward thing that you can just apply, rotely. All right, next example. So here, we don't have the race lead, but after the race, we've got a 10 pip lead. Single checker at the midpoint, single spare. So this should be, break the butterfly, and that's what it is. And actually, any play that doesn't is a blunder here. And I'd point out that we're still not favored. We're not favored to win this game, which would make a lot of people reluctant to do it. But it's better than the alternatives.
Does a single spare always end up on that 13 point?
No, I suppose you could have a single spare, maybe on 11, or it's really a single spare anywhere, or no spares.
Okay. All right.
But it's going to be in the outfield, or either the midpoint or the outfield. It's not. This doesn't count as as part of that,
Right.
criteria. The spares on the 6 point. Okay, so here, again, big race lead. Spares, no spares in the outfield. It's time to leave. Just to add, Michi's other criteria, no really offensive play to make. We could make the 4 point, but you leave a direct shot, so that's no good. So the answer is, the other option here is, so you break this, and this is a tough one too, because you're doing what Michi calls a double falcon. And the double falcon is when you break, you hop over into the outfield, leaving 2 direct shots. So this is trickier because you don't have a safe landing spot. All the other ones we looked at, you have a safe landing spot, but the answer is still the same. You've got you've got no spares in the outfield, and so it's time to go and the racing lead. And any other play here is a blunder. One variation of this that I looked at, and toward the question of how much does race matter here? And so here, we don't have the race lead. Now we have the 7 pip lead after roll, but we don't have the same rate. We don't have the big race lead that we had before. Also, black has a 3-point board, kind of like our 3-point board. Now ours is a little bit better because we have the better point here. But you know, in this case, what's the right move here? Yeah, if you're not going to run out with the double falcon, what do you do here?
You have to leave a block.
Yeah. Which one?
I think on the 4 point, I played 10-6, 10-4, keeping the midpoint.
Yeah, and yeah. Well, what's the alternative? Your Ray is right.
13-3.
Yeah. You know, you slot the point that you want. This checker, this point, well, it's a point. Any point has its uses. You know, is the least valuable of the points. You know, this checker is blocking 6s from the back. This checker is a landing spot for our anchor, and it's keeping black's midpoint somewhat honest. So it's breaking this one, and it's not making the 4 point. 4 point gives a direct 6 out. It's not bringing 2 down because you're breaking your midpoint and you're giving direct shot, and two shots actually, although only one direct. And it's not the double falcon. In fact, in this case, the double falcon is the huge blunder, the 2-4-5 blunder.
Can we go back to the double falcon, the one that was right?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so here, you know, it's the race lead, big race lead. And also, I guess, you know, it's hard to sort all these things out altogether, but it's a combination. But you know, it's the race lead here, and then when you move these checkers here, now black has a pretty good board, 3-point board compared to white's 3-point board. But here, you know, the double falcon, okay, black's going to hit you with a 4 or 6, probably even a 1. But if he does that, he doesn't really have the ammunition to contain you. And also, black has 8 checkers in the zone here. You know, that's generally not enough. In fact, I think Michi had a rule that, you know, you never need to worry about being closed out if your opponent has 8 checkers in the zone. So a lot of things going on here. You know, and Michi, we're trying to boil it down to pretty simple rules, but not always clear. Okay. Yeah. So here, butterfly anchor, no race lead, but we would be up after the roll. Obviously no fort. So what do we do here? Do we still leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we move 2 of them?
Yeah. Well, let's look. What are the alternatives here? If we wanted to play, you know, a 6 is going to be from the midpoint down here where we leave a double shot, or the 6 from the midpoint down to the 5 where we also leave a double shot. We could hit and come down or split or something like that, but we're leaving a direct shot. And not only that, but we're leaving all 2s, but a 3-1, 5-1. So we're leaving a lot of shots, and you know, it's an even race. So, you know, the answer is Well, so the answer is, we're gonna need to run out here. Because we're leaving a direct shot. That's that's Michi's third criterion. We had to complete the fort, 0, 1 spare in the outfield. Or you're gonna leave a direct shot. So here we're leaving the direct shot. Let's not leave the direct, let's not leave direct shot, I should say, direct shot from the opponent's outfield, from the opponent's back checkers. If we come out, we're going to leave a direct shot, but the question is, but that's not the same as leaving it from the outfield, from the opponent's
Okay.
back checkers. So, okay, so we're going to come out. So the question is, do you do 22-16, 22-20, or 22-14, 22-16, 13-11?
13 and 11, I really want to unstack that heavy midpoint.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, unstacking the midpoint is probably part of it. You want to bring checkers in the zone. Leaving the back checker here gives you some connectivity. So now with the 6, you can make a point. Those are probably the main reasons for doing that. This is actually coming out better. You leave, the problem with the drawback to this play is you give more, 9s and 10s, or a 6-4, 6-3 hit here, or 5-4. And so you're giving up that, but you do have more point making chances next time, either the bar or the 5, or even the 10 or 11 from back here. So anyway, that's it. Let's look at a variation of this. Yeah, and so, oops, I didn't left the answer there. So now we have, we don't have it's not an even race anymore. So does that change the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a tough one. But so we'll look at the answer. The answer is it does a little bit. This was the play before, and it's still a decent play. It's the second best play now. However, here, now we're hitting, now we're playing more aggressively. We're already behind in the race. So that argues to not racing. It doesn't make, it's surprising to me that it doesn't make that much difference. It doesn't tip things too much, but it does matter. So generally you're going to want to break the butterfly when you're ahead in the race, or you're going to be ahead after the roll. And here we're just not there yet. Okay. Last example for tonight. 6-5 to play.
I think we either run all the way around or we 11-6, 8-2. Can't see anything else.
Yeah, here's the case where we've got the spares. We don't have a fork, but we have spares. But what's our alternative? There's no safe play that from Black's back checkers. So yeah. So Yeah, so, we're gonna leave. Just because anything else is, anything else leaves a shot. Our advantage here is we've got this big race lead. And so we need to, we've got the butterfly anchor, let's break it, let's take advantage of the race lead. Our game plan is, racing here. So let's race, break the butterfly there. Now, what happens if don't have the race lead? Yeah, so like before,
6.
we don't have the race lead. We still don't have a play that doesn't leave a blot somewhere. Black has the better board.
We're gonna leave 2 blots.
Yeah, so the surprising answer here is it's still running out. And the idea here is that Black can attack, but he doesn't really have the checkers in the zone to hit you. Also, he's got made the ace point. That's a weak point to make. And so if you're going to come in, you're going to come in at 2, 3, or 4, which is an easier point to launch from. You're making the 11 point here, which blocks the bar and threatens to point on Black. So, all those things sort of point to the running, leaving the butterfly, even though, all the criteria, even though you're behind in the race. Kind of unusual. So, again, these are fairly difficult concepts because, typically, if almost always right if you're behind in the race, you don't break your anchor. But the exception is the butterfly anchor, where you're going to have to break it at some point. So now's as good time as any, even though you're behind in the race, even though Black has the better board. It's for containment purposes, this is what you do. And you're still, even though we don't have the racing lead, where it's basically an even race. We're down 2, but so Black's up by a roll.
Gary, would you put the anchor on the 21 instead of the 22 if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what?
Well, that's a good question. Now we're not talking about a butterfly anchor anymore. So there's that. So we're not, and we're less inclined to leave that anchor. We also don't have a safe landing point for it. If we go 21, it's not going to land here. It's going to land here.
So you hit with the 6, you hit the 5 point.
So, well, let's see what else we got. Yeah, we could hit twice. That's probably not a bad strategy. If this is usually you're going to want to hit, or we could come in with a 5 and go 8 to 2. That's pretty kind of passive. I would say hit twice. What else do we have? Yeah. Again, with this, the 4-point anchor or 5-point anchor, you're really you really have to have a big lead to break it. But let's look what you got. Yeah, so it's a double hit is right. Or what's this? Coming in safely from that point and just giving them the single. the ace to hit. Again, and that's almost a blunder, but not quite. But yeah, there aren't that many good options. But keep in mind, just be aware. The butterfly anchor is the key here for this one, because you're going to want to break that. The 4-point or 5-point anchor, you're not going to want to break unless you're ahead in the race and ready to race, or you're forced to. All right, so that's it for this session, and next time we'll look at more butterfly anchors, and we'll look at we looked at when you run, and the next time we're going to look at when you stay. So much more to talk about for butterfly anchors. All right, let me stop the recording.